Oh, yes.
Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm very, very excited to bring you a review for the new Masters of the Universe Origins Castle Grayskull playset. This thing is just a real centerpiece of the Origins line and is a recreation of the original Castle Grayskull playset from the original Masters of the Universe toy line. No word yet on if there will be any, follow-up playsets like Snake Mountain or Eternity or anything, but I think this is the one that most people most fondly remember from the original toy line, so naturally, it was a priority to get out there. So, as you can see, this thing comes in a massive box and includes a bevy of accessories as well as this Temple of Darkness Sorceress figure. That figure being a reference to the Temple of Darkness mini-comic from the original toy line, in which the Sorceress was depicted in an all-white garb. So it's just one neat little variant of the figure to get, and they will be releasing a regular colors version later in, I think it's like wave 7 or so. Anyway, if you've seen my reviews before, you know this goes. We're going to take a look at Castle Grayskull's packaging, then we'll open it up, we'll get an idea of what's inside, and then we will see the playset itself. The interior, exterior, because this thing, folds open. I'll get plenty of shots of, plenty of Origins figures with this playset. And then after all that is said and done, as usual, I will give my final thoughts. So as I mentioned, the toy comes in this massive, massive box. I was actually shocked by how big it was. You can see this nice shiny version of the Master of the Universe logo here. The name, Castle Grayskull, with it's got a title just like the figures do. So Fortress of Mystery and Power for He-Man and his foes. Like I said, it includes the Sorceress figure, and you can see this just amazing, amazing retro-style artwork here on the front. You get the Sorceress flying in, you get He-Man and Skeletor doing battle, you get Ram Man, Triclops, Evelyn. She's summoning these skeleton guys, which I'd love to get toys of. That'd be really neat. You got everything. Merman, Man-at-Arms, Trapjaw, Tila, Beastman, Manny-Faces, Stratos. You got Zodak up here, I guess just watching from afar, and you got some guys over here. I can't really make out who they are. Judging by the battle sleds, they look like they're supposed to be good guys, though. So there's definitely a lot going on. Let's go ahead and turn this to the side. It's going to be hard to see. But you can see you got just a little more of this artwork. You get Fisto fighting some ogre-looking guy. You get some people flying in on these like winged monsters. Turn it around to this side. I'm trying to do this without knocking everything over. This thing's huge. Alright, so here we get Battle Cat and Panther fighting each other. That's really cool. It's the first time I've seen them like depicted together and fighting like that. That's neat. Alright, so the artwork is just nothing to scoff at. As usual with the Origin stuff, it's just gorgeous to behold. I'd love to get this as a poster. It'd be really nice. The top of the box shows off a whole bunch of things that you can do with this. Shows you that the jaw bridge, get a jaw bridge, opens and closes. You get a little practice dummy thing for He-Man. You get a flag, which shows who currently controls the castle, so that's neat. Trapdoor, a little laser turret, a weapon rack, an elevator that carries people up, and then it shows you how this thing folds to be carried around and for storage. So let's flip this around now. You can see there's some stress marks on my box that I'm really not thrilled about. The front even has some small punctures on it. And it just came that way, so not happy. Alright, here's the back. And man, does this take me back to 80s style toys. Like, this is clearly a new picture, but it looks like they've put some intentional kind of weathering or aging effect over it to make it look like a picture from an 80s toy box. So I really dig the look. So here they actually call out all the characters by name, so that's pretty neat. So they even get Orko on here. They also had Scareglow, and you get the Land Shark vehicle. And then right here, you just get kind of a flip side of how the castle looks on the inside. And you can see there's a lot going on here. Lots of accessories, lots of rooms. It's also worth pointing out that the recent PowerCon just had, among its numerous releases, an accessory pack, or like an expansion pack, for Castle Grayskull that included a robot, that skull-like smoke that appears on the top of the castle that apparently is called the Spirit of Grayskull, and then that like tentacle monster coming up through the grates. And I did manage to actually snag one of those online after the convention was over. It'll be a bit before I can review that with this. But I do look forward to that because the only thing better than getting a classic toy is getting official enhancements for the classic toy that are unintrusive. So I dig that very much. Okay, let's go ahead and open this up. We'll take a look inside. All right, I've got our tape cut. So let's go ahead, open this end up here. Carefully pull this out. Try to anyway, without making a huge mess of things. Well, let's see. I've got a hold of the castle itself, but it seems to be kind of stuck in there. Hold on 1 second. Look at that. All right, well, this is most of what was in there. Pick up everything else. All right, here we go. Here's our contents. It was a lot harder to get out than I thought it'd be. So you get a few poly bags of your smaller parts and pieces right here. And you just get this little bit of cardboard filler. So you get this stuff. There's like the computer console and all that. Pretty cool. There's a flag. Get that out of the way. All right, you get your training dummy thing, weapon rack, a throne. That's it. I think that's part of the weapon rack too, right? Maybe or something. Figure it out. Your turret, kind of plain looking, but I think I got stickers for it. There's some other stuff right here. There's a little. Oh, that's how the elevator works. That's cool. It's kind of like a pull string with a little bird thing on it. Looks kind of like Zor, but not quite. This appears to be our sticker sheet. And I'm sure we're going to have lots of fun applying. Oh yeah, here's our Sorceress. I almost kind of forgot about her. What's up? So you can see she's done up in a mostly white garb. And honestly, I kind of prefer it to her normal attire. I always felt that the bright, almost like toucan-like colors were a bit loud. I kind of prefer just the more plain all-white one. Makes her look like a white owl or something. So pretty neat, pretty neat. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, kind of open the stuff up, put it together, and then we'll start the real in-hand look at this whole set. All right, now let's take a look at our Temple of Darkness Sorceress. The Sorceress figure comes with this staff that has what I believe is a Zor head ornament. I think that's what that's supposed to be. And she has wings that can fold out like this, become like a proper displayed wingspan. Now, there's something odd here. I don't know if my copy is defective or misassembled, or if they're all like this, but it appears that instead of having symmetrical wings, she just has two of the same wing and just like flipped around, because you can see it curves downward here, but then upward here. So I don't know if that's just my copy or not. I don't know if it's supposed to be like that. I bought this for my son for Christmas, so we'll be finding out here soon enough if this is a universal thing or if I actually have a defective copy. When it comes to articulation, she has your typical double ball-jointed head. However, you can barely move it because her headdress drapes over her wings on her back here and prevents you from really getting more than the slightest bit of movement out of this. You can mostly like tilt it side to side, and that's about it. She doesn't get a lot of movement on her head, which is unfortunate. You know, if they had molded this in a softer plastic or something to where it could move around, wouldn't really be an issue. Her staff, unfortunately, she doesn't hold it very well. She's kind of grasping it between the thumb and the index finger, and then everything else is just kind of hanging there. So, I mean, it'll stay put, but it'll kind of wobble in her hand a bit. The rest of our articulation is what you'd expect. The universal shoulders, elbow hinge, swivel, pretty tight swivel, but it's there. Wrist swivel and bend. You get your full waist swivel. Universal hips. Single bend knees with rotation. Pretty tight rotation, but it's there. Boot rotation, ankle rocking, and swivel. So everything that you'd expect. One thing that I was kind of disappointed to realize is that the Sorceress here is rocking the old thigh design that was used on the Wave 1 Tila and Evelyn. The She-Ra figure that's from the same wave introduced a new thigh design that was much more normal looking. It didn't have this like bizarre indent here in the upper thigh. It didn't have these like weird flappy looking knees. And that became the design standard from there on out, so it is kind of weird that Sorceress doesn't utilize that. Guessing she was designed before the She-Ra toy was? Not sure. It's unfortunate. I'm willing to bet that the single pack release of Sorceress with the rainbow colors will probably have the fixed thighs. But yeah, it is disappointing that she didn't carry that over because it doesn't look as good as the new one. For a quick comparison, here are the other female characters released thus far. You get your Wave 1 figures Teela and Evelyn, and then your fellow Wave 3 figure She-Ra. Now, Teela and Evelyn kind of set the template for the female figures. In fact, they're really just head swaps of each other with different accessories. She-Ra broke the mold by being mostly new parts. In fact, the only molding she actually shares with these two are the forearms and hands. And Sorceress kind of continues that. Her head, torso, pelvic area, and then her sleeves here all the way down to her wrist are all new pieces. The boots are also original to her. And then that just leaves the hands, the thigh, and calf pieces that are the same as the Wave 1 figures. So just like She-Ra, she changes up quite a bit instead of just being like a white recolor of these two. And I appreciate that. It adds more value to the figure, it makes it more unique and, you know, something that's going to feel a little better picking up and not feeling like you're just buying the same female figure, you know, another time. And now we get to see Castle Grayskull itself. So right here we get the front with the iconic giant skull looming over the front gate here. And one big difference between this version and the original is that the skull's been redone to be a little more aesthetically pleasing and to kind of incorporate some elements from the Classics version. I mean, the original Castle Grayskull was a great playset, but the skull was a little bizarre looking, like somebody had kind of bashed its face in. So I think this is a pretty good improvement while still maintaining, you know, the look of the original toy. You can also see we got his turret up here, which is very cool. Pivots up and down, rotates, and you can have, you know, a character behind here, like manning it. Not so much when the castle's closed, because there's not a lot of clearance behind this little dome here. And then we get our flag right here, which you can turn around to show who's currently controlling the castle. So here is the heroic warrior flag, and then the evil warrior flag. So, you know, you can position it however you want to show who's currently in charge of the castle, which is very cool. And then the other little gimmick we have for the outside is the drawbridge, because puns, you know. And the drawbridge is interesting because it can only be opened by inserting an object into this little latch right here. Now, canonically, the only thing that's supposed to open the drawbridge is the Sword of Power. That was the original function of that sword, you know, before the cartoon made it the way for Adam to transform into He-Man. Because in earlier storylines, He-Man was just himself. He was like a barbarian roaming the wilderness, and the Sword of Power, which you can see right here, came in two halves, which, when united, formed the key to Castle Grayskull. It was the only way to open it. Technically, anything that'll fit in that slot will get it open, but let's go ahead, for posterity's sake, and insert the sword here. And boom, the bridge drops. And you can see why they call it the jaw bridge, because the inside is decorated like the bottom row of teeth of the big skull here. It even interestingly gets what looks like a tongue motif here in the middle, though skull wouldn't have a tongue, but oh well. And then you kind of just get a little sneak peek of what's all inside. You can see the elevator right here. So already, just from the outside, we have an awesome looking playset. However, there's so much more to this. So let's go ahead, shut the bridge for now. The jaw bridge. We're going to turn this around so you can see the back side of it, just to get an idea of what that looks like. And there's not a whole lot going on the back side, but there is a lot of, you know, very good detail. You have the like slatted roofs here, both the dome and this more angular roof. You get all these little windows looking in. This right here is the handle to carry the castle, so you know, if you want to pick it up and carry it around like a suitcase, you can do that. Makes for ease of transportation. And then you get what looks like, I mean, I guess it's supposed to be like a back door, but it's sealed, I suppose. It's a nice detail, but doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, that's the back of it. You know, they didn't slack off and just leave it very plain. They put lots and lots of detail there. But of course, the outside's only half the fun. So we take this, and here we get our little latches that you have to unhook to open up Grayskull. Hopefully we can do this without a bunch of stuff falling out. Oh, here we go. All right, check this Look at that. There is so much going on here. Now first, let's go ahead and take everything out of storage. You have to put these things up to fold the castle in on itself. And the best place to do that is pretty much right here around the second floor. So you get a couple of weapon racks right here and here. You get a ladder, which is very cool, and that can be placed in several positions. Anywhere where you see these little divots, right? So you can have a ladder going from the bottom to the top. Actually, it should go like that. Bottom to the second floor, I mean. Or you can get it going from the second floor to the roof. It's my preferred placement there, just because it has little grooves to hold it in place. It won't flop around on you. So here's the two weapon racks. You get a kind of real small one where you just lay the weapons across. Then you have this larger one where you can hang them up. And this is how they have you lay it out in the pictures, but really these can be stored pretty much anywhere. Then we get our little practice dummy thing. You get a boar on one side, which, you know, the idea is you're supposed to smack it and then dodge the big fist that comes swinging around, right? Real sword and board type stuff. Very classic medieval style. We get our fabric flags or banners that hang down here. And there's actually a few spots that could be, these things can be stored. Anywhere you see these two little kind of square-shaped holes, you can pop the flags off and stick them somewhere else. So if I want to have it, you know, say here, you can do it there. Personally, I like them up here, but you can do it to suit your own personal taste. I'm going to just get this back in. Whoops. Get in there, buddy. There we go. It's in there. All right, some other neat details. If you move this out of the way, you can see your dungeon area with all manner of creatures and baddies just kind of hanging out of it. You get this small little computer console here. You get this really big computer console here with a monitor showing, I guess, the cosmos. By the way, the stickers, not the worst I've ever had to put on, but they can be kind of difficult. You don't get a lot of play with them, so take your time and be meticulous when applying those because you don't want to mess them up. All right, let's kind of move these out of the way for a second so you get a better view of the castle. Let's bring out our main man, He-Man, here, so that he can demonstrate some things. So we get our working elevator, and it's got a little peg right here, which will fit in the foot of pretty much all your Master of the Universe figures. You may need him to kind of fold his arms in a little bit. And then you take this little bird thing, and you just pull up. Kind of contact in there. But you pull it, and it will latch into place, too, so it won't just flop down when you let go. So it has a working elevator to transport your characters. And then we have a throne here. There's also some other pegs all around, by the way. There's one here so you can man the turret. There's one here up on the roof. One there. Our throne has two pegs right here. So let's go ahead and kind of relieve He-Man of his weapons. And we're going to try to get him to sit down on this thing. So, place him carefully. Get the hole in his heel on the peg. And it'll make the toes point down a little bit because of the way it's shaped, but that's fine. Just make sure they're planted pretty firmly. Bring the arms down. All right. So you get He-Man hanging out right here. And then, to show off this very awesome gimmick, we'll go ahead and put Skeletor here like he's confronting He-Man. Thinks he's got him cornered. But then, when He-Man turns to face Skeletor, whoop, denied. He falls down into the dungeon with all your monstrous baddies. So that's very cool. And the feature works like a charm. Now, of course, you gotta pose your characters right, make sure they fit in here so that they'll actually fall through the hole and not just get stuck. Though them getting stuck's maybe even a better effect because it'd be kind of funny. So yeah, you get all this play value in just what we get here. Not to mention the slew of weapons that come on the racks can be wielded by virtually all your figures. So you can get He-Man to grab, you know, let's say a pole arm, right? Something he's not normally shown wielding. Get him ready to fight. There we go. Get him in battle position. And then let's go ahead and grab someone like Man-at-Arms here. Let's give Man-at-Arms a sword. Normally he carries a mace, so let's do a sword this time just to mix things up. And you get it to plug into his hand. Fits pretty well. And you can get him and He-Man Maybe not as well as I'd like. His thumb's kind of creating some clearance issues. But you can get Man-at-Arms and He-Man to kind of spar with each other if you want to. But really doesn't want to stay in his hand. So you'll see that the weapons are made in this very plain color. Almost like a stone or a wood type color. So they're clearly meant to be practice weapons, which is cool, right? You don't want the heroes beating each other up with real weapons and hurting each other. Well, that really doesn't want to stay in his hand. All right, that sword's kind of dinky. All right, buddy, let's give you a mace instead. You're clearly not meant for the old sword and board. Give you something that's a little more fitting. There you go. See, that he's like actively rejecting a sword. He doesn't like swords. All right, so you can enact your characters, just kind of practice fighting with each other. Of course, we get our little pig and fist thing, so we can smack it. Oop. Try not to knock it over. But you get the idea. You give it a good whack, it spins around, they gotta move out of the way of the fist. Now, on mine, I don't know if it's universal, the fist is like, it's a little crooked. It's not completely level with like all this. Kind of tilts this way a little bit. I don't know if that's universal or not. It's barely noticeable, but you know, when you've been reviewing toys for a long time, you kind of have an eye for such things. So anyway, yeah, there's a lot going on here. It's a very fleshed out, very highly functional playset. I really like it. And I totally understand why this was so popular with kids, because my youngest son has been obsessed with this thing since I first opened it. Like to the point where I'm buying him his own because he absolutely loves it. And it's good to see that some designs are just timeless like that, you know? And now for the part I've been waiting for, the big battle scene on the exterior. Now, in a way, this doesn't make very much sense because you're kind of viewing the front and the back of the castle at the same time. Some people opt to keep this folded at like a 90, which kind of makes sense in a way. It makes this look like a side of the castle rather than the back of it. But given my display, that's not very practical, so we're just going to go with this. And you can see I got pretty much the core cast here. You got He-Man and Skeletor in their battle armor, Teela, Man-at-Arms, Orko, Sorceress, and on the bad side we get Beastman, Trapjaw, Evelyn, you know, kind of your A-listers here. Of course, you can make a much bigger battlefield than this, but again, only so much room on the display table, so I'm pretty happy with what we get here. And man, I gotta tell you, like this is fun. I'm in my mid-30s, and I feel like a child right now, in the best way. Like, just being able to like play with these, make them fight each other, set up these elaborate displays. I really, really like this. And this has me really hankering for a Snake Mountain playset. I really hope that's coming down the pike for Origins. As far as I know, Castle Grayskull is selling pretty well. I haven't seen it go on clearance anywhere yet, so I think it's doing well, and I hope that's a sign to Mattel to go ahead and make Snake Mountain now. Because, I mean, there is that, like, really expensive Snake Mountain from Classics, but we need something a little more toned down and something that's compatible with our Origins toys. And then if that does well, who knows, maybe we'll get, like, the Slime Pit. Maybe, just maybe, we might get the Eternia playset one day. I'm not going to get my hopes up on that too much because there were a lot of structural issues with that they'd have to work out, and I don't know if they want to actually go through the trouble of doing it, but a guy can hope. So yeah, I absolutely love this thing. I think it's worth every penny. You know, it's running somewhere between $70 to $80 depending on where you get it. It's a hefty price tag, it is, but honestly, it's not that bad. Like, I look back to the 90s when a Megazord cost like $80. In that context, this is not a bad deal at all. Especially when you look at the Classics ones, they ran for what, hundreds of dollars for their playsets? So I think 70 to 80 is not a bad asking price. Plus, if you get it at Target, use a red card, you get like 10% off. That's what I did. So I think this thing is fantastic. It really captures the spirit of the original while making just a few small updates here and there just to modernize it, make it a little more aesthetically pleasing, and I'm good with that. It looks phenomenal. And what you get here is just kind of the base model because, as you know, future releases have some compatibility with this. You get the Battlefield Warrior set, which has your battle-damaged Battle Armor He-Man and Battle Cat that have a base that look like the exterior of the castle, plus they come with little gargoyles that can climb up on the castle. And I promise I will show off that play feature when I do review those. You get the Wind Raider, which on top of having another display base that looks like the surrounding landscape, can actually detach and mount up here on top of the castle. We're also getting Stridor down the pike, who gets another similar base, which will actually attach to the Wind Raiders. And then, of course, we get the Secrets of Grayskull expansion set from PowerCon. And that is built solely to add on to this, giving you a Spirit of Grayskull here up on the roof, gives you a little Guardian robot, gives you the Tentacle monster coming up from the grates. His name eludes me at the moment, but I'll have it when I do that review. So not only is this thing just fantastic on its own, you have the option of really bulking this out and making it a full-on display piece. So I really love this. I love the modular nature. I love the forward planning they did with this to make all this happen. And if you're a MOTU fan, I think without a doubt you owe it to yourself to pick this up. Yeah, I mean, high price tag, but totally worth it. Obviously, if you don't have the money, don't break the bank. At the end of the day, it is plastic, and I don't want to see anyone go through any financial hardship over it. But if you have it, you don't mind parting with that for something you're going to have a lot of fun with and be proud of, I think this is it right here. This is like the centerpiece to the Origins collection, and will work really well under a Christmas tree. Or, you know, Hanukkah present, whatever you celebrate. So yeah, if you haven't already, fully recommend picking this up. Of course, that is my very excited take on this playset. Now I want to know what you all think of this. Are you as pleased with the Castle Grayskull playset as I am? Do you think it's really awesome as either a first-time buyer or especially as somebody who had the original back in the 80s? Or is there something about it you don't like? Maybe you don't like the changes they made in the updates. I know some people are kind of purists and they don't want things changed beyond maybe the added posability and better materials. Or do you think the price tag is too high? You're just not interested in big play sets like this? Any and all feedback's always welcome in the comments section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me for this really, really exciting look at the new MOTU Origins Castle Grayskull playset. And with all that said, I will see you next time.